Today is October 26th. It's the 300th day of the year, and this is the On This Day podcast. On this day in 1689, Italian General Ennio Silvio Piccolomini orders the city of Skopje to be burnt to the ground. The general is leading the Hapsburg army in an offensive through the Ottoman Empire. They've captured Kosovo, Bosnia, and parts of Macedonia when they launch an attack on Skopje. By some accounts, Piccolomini burns the city of Skopje as revenge for the Ottomans' siege of Vienna 6 years earlier, prior to the Battle of Vienna, in which the Holy Roman Imperial Army repels the Turks. By other accounts, the general burns down the city after numerous outbreaks of cholera, a highly contagious and deadly affliction in those days. General Piccolomini aims to prevent an outburst of the disease. And though tens of thousands die in Skopje from cholera and from the fires, he does successfully contain the bacterial outbreak, but not before he contracts cholera himself. He dies shortly after burning down the city of Skopje on this day in 1689. His army is defeated, and Skopje, once a thriving commercial center, is destroyed. For a time. It is now the capital of present-day Macedonia. The most famous gunfight in the Old West lasts only 30 seconds, but the legend lives on forever of the moment when the gang of outlaws called cowboys come up against the law in the gunfight at the OK Corral on this day in 1881. The shootout takes place in Tombstone, Arizona, a boomtown founded just 2 years earlier in 1879 around the exceptionally productive silver mines from which millions upon millions of dollars worth of silver bullion is pulled in just a matter of a few years. By 1881, Tombstone hosts a bowling alley, a couple of churches, a couple of banks, a couple of newspapers, dance halls, brothels, and over 100 saloons, and a photography studio run by C.S. Fly. Tombstone is also full of bandits and cattle rustlers, thieves. Shootings are commonplace, and the citizens often have to take the law into their own hands. It is the epicenter of the Wild West. Among the troublemakers are a bunch of roughneck outlaws referred to as cowboys, the most reckless class of outlaws in that wild country, according to the San Francisco Examiner at the time. Cattle rustlers Billy and Ike Clanton, along with their cohorts Tom and Frank McClory, are considered cowboys. The Clantons rustle cattle on both sides of the border 30 miles to the south of Tombstone, and the McClorys fence the stolen bovine. The Clantons and the McClorys are the baddest of the bandits and thieves of the cowboy class. Towards the end of 1879, the Earp brothers ride into town to make their fortune in the mining trade. The brothers Wyatt, James, and Virgil, and later Morgan, stake mining claims and also pick up some action on the side. Wyatt, a former lawman from Dodge City, Kansas, acquires a piece of a gaming saloon in exchange for providing security. Brother James deals faro and tends bar, and Virgil and Morgan pick up work guarding Wells Fargo stagecoach shipments. Virgil Earp is also a deputy U.S. Marshal. The Earps soon come up against the cowboys. In 1880, Virgil enlists Wyatt and Morgan's help to hunt down the thieves of 6 government mules, stolen from an army post. The mules are found on the McClory Ranch. But before the posse can retrieve them, the captain of the army post makes an arrangement with one of the McClory's men to have the mules returned. The posse retreats, but the mules are never returned. A month later, the Earps confront the McClorys, and hard threats are made, with Frank McClory making clear his intention to kill Virgil Earp if the brothers don't back off. This is the first of the Earp's many run-ins with the cowboys. A couple of stagecoach robberies, more death threats by the Clanton brothers, and Wyatt Earp's desire to win the office of sheriff all bring the conflict to a boil on the night of October 25th, when Ike Clanton and Tom McClory ride into town with a wagon load of beef. Ike Clanton gets into a verbal altercation with Doc Holliday, a compatriot of the Earp brothers, in the Alhambra Saloon. Morgan Earp happens to be running security there that night, and he throws Clanton out onto the street. In the street, Clanton runs into Wyatt Earp, and words are exchanged. Early the next morning on this day in 1881, Ike Clanton continues to spew insults at Wyatt and Doc Holliday until Virgil comes upon him and finds Clanton in possession of a rifle, in violation of a town ordinance that prohibits the carrying of firearms in public within the town limits. Virgil and brother Morgan Earp carry Clanton to the courthouse, where Clanton is fined $25 for the violation, and then he's allowed to leave. As Clanton and Tom McClory leave the courthouse, Wyatt Earp runs into them. Clanton and McClory make more death threats against him, and in return, he wallops McClory on the head with his revolver, knocking him down into the street. Sometime after noon, Billy Clanton and Frank McClory arrive in town and meet up with their brothers to hear about the tussles of the past night and this morning. Tension is building in this Wild West town, and a showdown is imminent. Billy and Ike Clanton and Frank and Tom McClory gather in Dunbar Corral, opposite the OK Corral, around 2:30 p.m. on this day. Locals can see they're armed. The sheriff is notified, and he tries to get them to disarm, but he's powerless. Just down the street are Virgil, Morgan, and Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday. They're all armed as well. They walk down 4th Street to Fremont Street and turn the corner and see the cowboys lingering in the lot next to C.S. Fly's photo studio. Coming towards the Earps is the sheriff. He begs them to walk away. Virgil, by now the town marshal, tells the sheriff they're going to disarm the cowboys in accordance with local ordinance. Virgil and his brothers, who are deputized as special policemen, and Doc Holliday as a temporary policeman. They approach the outlaws. Virgil orders them to disarm, drop their weapons, and throw up their hands. Wyatt has his pistol in his coat pocket, and when Billy Clanton and Frank McClory draw their pistols, he pulls his from his pocket. Billy's got a bead on him, but Wyatt Earp aims at McClory, who he knows to be the better shot. They are mere feet away from each other when Billy and Wyatt fire the first 2 shots. For the next 30 seconds, shots ring out as 6 shooters and rifles are emptied, and the 2 groups run for cover. When the shooting stops and the smoke clears, Frank McClory lies in the middle of Fremont Street, mortally wounded. Billy Clanton lies in the vacant lot with a fatal chest wound, and Tom McClory, too, from a shotgun blast at the hands of Doc Holliday. Holliday, Virgil, and Morgan Earp are all wounded but survive the shootout. Wyatt Earp emerges unscathed. The Earp brothers and Doc Holliday are put on trial for murder. After weeks of testimony, the judge determines that Virgil Earp's actions are justified within his role as town marshal, and that there isn't enough evidence against the others to convict. Virgil Earp is ambushed by cowboys later in 1881 and left seriously injured, and Morgan Earp is gunned down by cowboys in 1882. The legendary shootout on this day in 1881 actually takes place down the street from the OK Corral, in that small vacant lot on the side of Fly's photo studio, 6 doors down from the OK Corral. But Gunfight in the vacant lot on the side of Fly's photo studio isn't that catchy a name on which to build a legend. In 1928, the shootout is described in a book about the West as the incident near the OK Corral. And then in 1931, in a biography of Wyatt Earp, which includes a chapter titled At the OK Corral. But it isn't until the 1957 film about the shootout, a film called Gunfight at the OK Corral, that the shootout between the Earp brothers and the Cowboys in Tombstone, Arizona, on this day in 1881, becomes known as the gunfight at the OK Corral. There are 66 days left in the year. On This Day is produced by me, Dave Schultz. Thank you very much for listening. The Erie Canal is completed on this day in 1825, and to celebrate, a statewide celebration is held with cannons fired all along the 363-mile route from Buffalo to New York City in a 90-minute cannonade. So if you're still listening, bang. Talk to you tomorrow.